What's up, Steve? Back for more discussion, I see. So I pointed out several logical fallacies you engaged in last time, but wanted to follow up on another one you committed, the fallacy of begging the question. Anyways, that's when a person arbitrarily assumes the very thing he is trying to prove.
I didn't assume anything, dude.
Sure you did. You argued that you do not believe anything the Bible says is reliable because virtually all scientists agree that evolution is a fact.
Right. That's true.
Your argument begs the question because it presupposes that your cognitive faculties are reliable so as to make your case. If the conjunction of naturalism and evolution is true, what reason do you have to think that your cognitive faculties are at all reliable or trustworthy? After all, Darwin himself said in light of his own theory, but then, with me, the horrid doubt always arises whether the convictions of man's mind, which has been developed from the mind of the lower animals, are of any value or at all trustworthy. Would anyone trust in the convictions of a monkey's mind, if there are any convictions in such a mind? It seems that if Darwinism is true, then the thoughts of my mind and your mind are not much different than the different rate of fizzing between Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew. One fizzes differently than the other because the chemical properties are different. Likewise, according to your worldview, our brains developed differently via evolutionary processes to think differently, not because we are making real decisions to believe what we want, but because we are merely dancing out our DNA and social conditioning. So, if evolution and naturalism are true, how do you know that they are true? Moreover, how do you know anything, much less whether or not the Bible is true in light of evolutionary theory?
Look, dude, it makes zero sense to deny evolution. It is a well-established fact of nature. You are not making sense, dude.
Would you accept it if I said evolution cannot be true because it is false?
Well, no, of course not.
Well, that's what you are essentially saying. That evolution must be true because it is a fact.
But we know that evolution is true because we are here.
This is still begging the question. Since the way that we got here is the very question at hand. Also, you are essentially saying, if evolution is true, then we would expect to be here. We're here, therefore evolution is true. That's a formal fallacy of logic called affirming the consequent.
This is annoying. Why do you creationists always avoid what science says?
That's yet another fallacy called the fallacy of reification. Maybe we will discuss that one next time perhaps.
Aha! If begging the question is such a problem, then you have a big fat dilemma on your hands.
How so?
Because Christians say the Bible cannot be false because the Bible says it is true. So that's a fallacy according to you Jesus freaks.
I see what you mean. I agree that to argue that way is a fallacy, and that some Christians make the claim.
Well, there you go then. Look who is calling the kettle black.
But that's not my claim, and since I am the only Christian in the room you will have to deal with my actual arguments and not ones that other people make. Christians are mistaken to say that the Bible is true because it says so. That would be begging the question. The correct way to say it is to say that the Bible is true because it says so, and because if one rejects what it says, one does not have a worldview that can make sense of the very concepts of truth itself, or other preconditions of intelligibility.
But you are assuming the very thing you are trying to prove, and you just told me that is a fallacy.
It's only a fallacy when it's arbitrary. When it's entirely unavoidable, then it is not a fallacy.
You are arguing in a circle.
But not all circles are fallacious. For instance, one cannot make an argument for the laws of logic without first presupposing the laws of logic. It is unavoidable in certain circumstances. The person who tries to argue against logic refutes himself in the process, because he must rely on the laws of logic in the attempt. Moreover, remember, we're not saying that the Bible is true because it says so. No, we accept the Bible by faith through God's work in our minds, and then we learn that the Bible provides a coherent and reasonable account of the world that sufficiently provides what's needed to make sense out of reality. This is circular indeed, but it isn't viciously circular. because it takes in more and more information that provides a rather robust, intelligible, and comprehensive metaphysical explanation of reality.
Hold on a second, buddy. Are you telling me I must believe in the Bible in order to make sense of anything? Give me a break.
No, I am saying that you cannot argue against the Bible or the Christian worldview, without relying on things in reality that are explained and accounted for by the Bible and the Christian worldview. Just as you cannot argue for or against logic without first relying on logic, so it is, in a more general sense, with Christian theism.
But you have not proven that. You are merely making assertions here.
Actually, I'm giving you an example of how you can only make sense out of your arguments against Christian theism by assuming things that can only be made sense out of with principles found in Christian theism.
That's crazy talk. What the random does that mean?
It means that it's demonstrated the same way the laws of logic are. Pretend the laws of logic do not exist for a moment, it will lead to self-refuting absurdity. It's the same with Christian theism. Pretend it is false for the sake of argument, then attempt to account for everything necessary to make sense of human experience, that is, like being able to trust your thoughts or know that nature is going to be uniform in a general way without begging the question. You will ultimately end up in the same self-refuting absurdity. Seems like a good place to take a break. Good speaking with you again, perhaps more next time.